Good morning, everyone, from the Quinebaug River. We are just across the border from Jewett City in Canterbury, and we are cleaning up the watershed. We're just kicking off the Project Oceanology crew cleanup for Earth Day, and it's a beautiful day at that. You can see the Quinebaug River flowing right here. My name is Debbie. I'm one of the educators at Project Oceanology. I am beginning our crew cleanup on the Quinebaug River. We're going to clean up the watershed every hour from 10 to 2. There will be a different educator going live to share their cleanup efforts. We recommend, if you're cleaning up in the watershed, that you only do so with members of your household. That's going to limit the spread of COVID-19. I know it is Earth Day, and more people than usual will want to get outside and be using this beautiful outdoor space today. That's a safe way to do it, but you want to make sure that you stay in small groups and only with members of your household. So we're excited to get started cleaning the Quinebaug River watershed. The Quinebaug is a pretty long river that flows all the way down and feeds the Jewett River, which then feeds the Thames River, which then flows to Long Island Sound. So I can hear some wildlife here at the river. Just before I went live, I was hearing some belted kingfishers. Those are fish-eating birds, so they were using the river, and I believe I just heard a raven. I've only heard that call a couple times in my life, so it's still a new one to me, but I believe there's a raven here in the brush next to the Quinebaug River. So if you're just joining us, again, my name is Debbie. I'm kicking off our crew cleanups in the watershed. A watershed is the area of land that drains to a body of water. So some people will call it a drainage basin, but if rain falls on your house, you are part of a watershed. Even if you don't live directly adjacent to any water, you are part of a watershed. So the water that lands on your yard or on your home will eventually either seep into the ground or travel across paved surfaces and drain to some other water sources. So in this case, my home drains to the Quinebaug River. So I came to the waterfront here in the Quinebaug to do a little bit of watershed cleaning. So as I said, if you don't live directly at the water, you can do some cleanup near your home and still be protecting the ocean. So my husband and I have been picking up some trash here this morning. The equipment that I have with me, I have a bucket so that I can sort my trash into recyclables and landfill garbage. So we found a lot of plastic things. Many of these things may not be recyclable, but some of them after a rinse may be salvageable. So we'll be able to sort those when we're done. I also brought a contractor bag to put the pieces of trash in there. So that can go straight to the landfill, and I'll be able to recycle a lot of the things that we're finding in here. I also brought a pair of vinyl-lined gloves. So that I can protect my hands from some of the trash that we'll be picking up here in the watershed. So again, I'm here with my husband. We're cleaning up. And some of the trash that we're finding, since we are on the Quinebaug River that leads to the Jewett, that leads to the Thames, that leads to Long Island Sound, some of these objects could float as far as Long Island Sound and the ocean. So if you clean up your watershed, you can then protect the ocean as well. Now, when I'm looking at some of the objects that we have found already, I can actually log them in our CleanSwell app. I'm just going to take my glove off real quick here and pass the camera off to my husband, actually, so I can show you what I'm doing. All right, so some of the things that we found, this one is actually probably fairly recent. It's really clean, all things considered. This is a plastic container. So I've logged into the CleanSwell app, and I have it up here on my tablet. Okay. And I can count this by clicking on the little bottles plastic. Now, we found 8 total already.
It's all just glare.
There's a lot of glare in there, so you can't see it, but I know it's there. I've clicked on the button that says bottles plastic. Most of what we found here today were plastic bottles, and most of them were actually likely littered by someone who was using this piece of this area. So they probably chose to leave their garbage behind here, but we are finding pieces of trash that maybe were not deliberately left here. We found some styrofoam containers. Now that's likely that this was being used by someone somewhere in the watershed, perhaps didn't properly dispose of it, put it in a trash can correctly, or let it sit outside for a long time, or an uncovered trash can somewhere in town where the wind could blow it out. So a piece of styrofoam also blew in here. We found a flip-flop, so I think that was probably lost by somebody else. It's in pretty rough shape, but somebody probably lost it, maybe wading in the water, and it was carried here by the river. Now it's flowing not so fast in this location, but it sort of gets a little narrower over there, and so you can perceive the flow speed. It's flowing really fast today because we had a ton of rain yesterday. There were storms coming through Connecticut yesterday, and so rain all over the place, carrying it in. And so now that water is carrying some of this marine debris down to the Thames River and Long Island Sound. So ways that we can help protect the watershed, not just physical trash can impact our watershed. There are other things that might affect Long Island Sound too, or the Quinebaug River. So the river is affected by nutrient runoff from fertilizers in the grass and on farms nearby. Also, there's a lot of paved surface in this part of the state, and so that's when the rain falls on the streets there, it does not go directly into the ground. It actually will travel across paved surfaces. I'm getting lots of messages right now, probably related to our connectivity. So I apologize if I'm not completely connected here, but I'll just finish by saying that things that are happening in the watershed will affect water quality, and that can impact our drinking water as well. So if we're allowing chemicals to leach into the ground or to travel across paved surfaces, or if we change our oil on our driveways and then that gets carried to the river, that can start to impact water quality for the animals that live here, affect the water table all across our area here. So we want to protect our beautiful environment here for the animals that use it, but also for the people that use it too. I'm sure some of the people who were using the bottles we found today were using this beautiful spot to go kayaking or fishing or enjoy the beautiful weather. The sun's coming out. And so we want this place to stay beautiful for them as well. So we're going to continue to clean up a little bit in this area. We're going to log all of our cleanup information on the Clean Swell app from the Ocean Conservancy. You can download that for free for Android or Apple products. So you can get the Clean Swell app and do a watershed cleanup near your home today. Even somewhere just along your street would make